name, you see that it's this ear is broken off some way. I think Danny bit it off. And the name of this creature here is Vincent van Gogh, because he's missing an ear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I'll start. There's a river that goes by the place where we lived in Burma. My dad and mom were missionaries in that town, but I didn't go to school there. So I had to go, when I was 7 years old, we traveled about 400 miles away to a mission boarding school, but a lot of this takes place in Pimana, where we lived, where my dad was stationed. He was like a teacher in an agricultural school. The agricultural school would be something like, but not anywhere near, the sophistication of something like Michigan State used to be a land-grant college, and they learned how to be farmers. And these boys from Burma, many of them Shan chiefs and so on, were part of his students. Anyway, the reason that I wanted Megan to take a picture of that river that goes by Pimana, by the way, the name Pimana means lazy man stop not. A good name, right? A lot has changed in Burma now, but in any case, that's the name of that. That was the name of that town. And at that river, it was depended upon whether it was the wet, dry season or the monsoon season. And during the monsoon, that river was a raging torrent. And in the dry season, it dried up completely, and you could walk on the bed. And a lot of the Burmese people near there, you can see kind of, those are Burmese rivers too. Mm-hmm. And like that's sort rivers? Of like it. But when in the wet season, it was a raging torrent, but in the dry season, it dried up, and people had bazaars there and put up little camps, and they lived there. And when the monsoons came, it would become a kind of a raging torrent, and a lot of their babies would drown. They wouldn't get out of the way fast enough or something. I don't know. My brother David and I, in the dry season, a lot of times we would go exploring on that river. And, we could walk up and down, and everybody saw the missionary kids coming, and they would always have stuff for us to eat and stuff like that. No word to Mama Smith and Sayaji, my dad. That Sayaji means big teacher. He wasn't big like Adam is big. He was a highly honored teacher. Anyway, the reason I wanted to bring up that river is because when the water was in it, then it was used to float the teak logs down to Rangoon and Maulmain, where I was born, to use all over the world. Burma was the place that you got teak, and when World War II started, the British complained because they had the best navy in the world. They constantly bragged about the fact that the decks of all of their battleships were made of the teak from Burma. Anyway, the thing that I remember is that when the monsoons were there, and that was a raging torrent, then we would go down to the river, David and I, and maybe my older sisters, would go down to the river go down to that river that went by pretty much by where we lived, and we would watch the elephants pulling the logs away from the side and getting them out into the water so they would float down to Rangoon, where the lumber factories were. And I remember that so plainly. The mahouts would be on top of those elephants, and the elephants didn't care. They'd just go where their mahouts were telling them to go, and they would sit up here, right on their head, and they'd have something that would keep knocking them in the head, and they would steer them into that water, and the elephants didn't care. They could stand up in the water. Water didn't faze them at all. They'd roll the teak logs out, get them rolling down the river, and so it'd go. They'd float all the way down to Rangoon. Anyway, so that's the first thing about the elephants. The Hathies. Hathi is the name for elephant. Mm-hmm. The Hathies pile and teak out of the Sitang River that went by my house. Okay, that's the first one. We were pretty little. I hadn't even gone to school yet. I didn't go to school until I was 7 years old and went in second grade. Well, the next time I came across an elephant was in Taunji at the school. And every so often, the leaders at the school would have an elephant come up with its great big, like a mattress sort of saddle on it for people to ride on it, and just bring it up to the school for us kids to ride on it, which was always an adventure. And the elephant would lie down, and we would get on it, and it was a big mattress, a mattress that would fit on the elephant's back, like about here, and it'd be about as big as this table, but about that thick. And
how many would be on there at a time?
Huh?
How many of you kids would ride at a time?
Oh, we could probably 4 or 5 or 6 hanging on to each other. And so the mahout, again, a mahout, would have it lay down, kneel down, and we would climb on and get up there and start hanging on to each other and to the mattress and stuff like that. And this elephant would go all over the compound of the school. The school was called the American School, and it was in Taunji, up in Upper Burma, where it was pretty cool, not so hot as in Pimana. And the school also had a swimming pool. A lot of stories about that swimming pool, but it had a shallow end and a deep end. And it was fed by a stream that just constantly ran, and it would go from the shallow end to the deep end. And this elephant, the maha, was kind of nudging behind its ears and just, kind of knocking on its head and stuff like that. And the elephant would go clunking all over the compound of the school, and then he would find its way eventually right straight to the swimming pool. So he would be coming along with us on the back, and he would come like this is the swimming pool, and he'd come clunking up like that, and get down about in the middle of the pool, and then it would just, as if nothing had happened, it would step down into the pool, and everybody except the mahout would just slide down into the water. oh, and then we saw the fun of it, But that he would do it once, and then that meant that he was done for the day. So that's the second story of the elephants. Okay, more to come. And let's see, the next